So money has to constantly be created. So I forgot my original point, though. But go ahead and ask your question.
I was just going to say, at the moment, in plain words, there does seem to be a gold rush on, and we see these adverts over here in England that they're wanting to buy your gold. So,
sure.
you know, people are selling their gold and they're getting money back.
Right.
So if the system crashes, people are left with nothing. So what do you know about, is that happening in the States?
Gold has always been a flight, an investment flight for when the dollar is bad and the economy goes bad. The dollar, if you track any currency, it tends to be inverse to gold. So if your currency is going down, then gold will go up. It's a psychological pattern based on the fact that gold is a legitimately valuable resource, based on what I understand. And it's generally scarce. Its utility, it has certain applications, but it's not really that applicable as far as what it can be used for. So it's basically psychology. Gold has value, and that's basically it. I mean, people are selling their gold because they can get currency for it. I think that's just equally as nonsensical. It doesn't mean anything. Obviously, people are doing what they have to survive. Gold standards, all of those things are equally as corrupt, because the value of gold is still determined subjectively. So even if you had a gold standard, which is a different topic of what you're talking about, you could still manipulate the value of the natural resource.
Now, in this future idea that you have within your movement and the Venus Project, we see this wonderful place of the circular cities, and we saw that on the programme. Now, if we could get to that kind of society, it would be fantastic. But the question I did want to ask was, when everything is done like that and is provided, and there's only a small workforce that does need to keep things ticking and working, how do you see people spending their time? What will they do? That's
always a common question. I think the value systems of society will be altered. I think we all have things that we like to do. I think you enjoy what you're doing. It's not that you just have to do it for money. Many people, of course, are trapped in the world of being slaves, legitimately not having any appreciation for what they do, and legitimately so. I mean, there's plenty of people I meet. For example, I was walking down the street in New York the other day, going somewhere, and I saw him at a distance, a man with a little packet of brochures, and he was standing with his arm outstretched. He's handing out flyers, but he wasn't just actively doing it. He decided, you could tell because he'd been doing it forever, I think. I spoke with him very briefly. He wasn't mentally ill. This is his job. He decided to stick his arm out with like a stand, like a statue, and hold it out if anybody wants to pick it. This was his job.
So it was like mechanical.
Absolutely mechanical, waste of life.
Oh my God.
So you can't say that people have choices in what they do. That individual doesn't have a choice. There's a specific biosocial circumstance which has created him and forced him into a position of that lowest degrading common denominator of labor. And unfortunately, that's the reality. So if you were to... People now, unfortunately, don't even know what they would do for many of them because they've been so conditioned. And there's an example that Jacques told me that I really like. Many, many years ago on an island, you'd have women that would carry harnesses with water. And every day they go down with these, you see this in cultures still today, these harnesses they have, and they go to the river and they get water, put it on their backs like this, and they walk up to their hut or wherever, and that's where they use to cook. They make a fire. What if someone said to them, hey, you know what, one day we're going to have water that you just turn a faucet on, and you're never going to have to go down to that river ever again, which they did 3 times a day. The woman might respond, well, what will I do? Because that is the nature of our conditioning. If you don't have an awareness of what's possible, then you're trapped in a limited frame of mind. And that's what our system does. We're constantly trapped in a very small frame of mind. Limited resources. You limit your possibility is what people are trapped into. Everyone's possibilities are limited and they can't see outside of it. I think people will do all sorts of incredible things. I think there will be a flourishment. Absolutely, they'll invent.
Yes,
they won't.
That's what I think too.
They won't. Imagine right now if you took all of the military men on the planet, all of them. I don't even want to know. I don't want to think about the numbers. And you sent them all to school to become engineers and architects and technicians. Imagine how incredible the world might be. Or the other example I use in addendum, imagine if all the guys that worked on the Manhattan Project, all of them instead worked on creating a sustainable environment, as opposed to a nuclear bomb, which kills people.
Exactly.
Imagine what the world might be.
It would be a lot better, wouldn't it?
People will do what is rewarding on whatever personal level. Sadly, to finish my point, that's been ripped out of people. in
well,
this
this
system.
Is it, because people are so programmed, aren't they, into a slot, and when kids are growing up and when they're at school and they're being forced to study, and it's like, what are you going to be when you grow up? You have to be something, and they, at that age, they probably just have no idea, but they're
Yes.
forced into slots that they could be forced into being doctors, lawyers and Indian chiefs,
Right.
and it could be so far from what
Yes.
they could be or should be.
Absolutely. People are, again, they're possibilities.
They're boxed, aren't they?
The older people get, it
Yeah.
seems like they just get more and more narrow.
Yes.
So you're fairly free as a child, as we hear people playing here, and there's a
Yes.
great creativity. And then you get to school, and then you have to decide. You realize you have to make money, and you get to college. So most people, when they go to college, they don't have a major. Then by like second or third year, they have to have a major. So they slowly narrow your possibility. It's based on the monetary system and nothing more.
Again, yes.
And then sadly, as an aside, people value themselves based on their occupation. They brainwash themselves based on what they've been forced into.
And it's like you've got to have 6, 10 A-levels before you can get some kind of half-decent job. But there's so many people, or children come out of school and they find a way because they become inventive and creative, like myself.
Sure.
But I suppose other channels do open up when other channels are closed.
Yes. I think there are always exceptions, but I think that people like Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein and these individuals don't have to be so few.
Yes.
I think they're not brilliant. They're brilliant. Jock dropped out of school at 14. His brilliance comes from his conditioning. He'll be the first to admit that. Brilliant mind, brilliant genetics too, probably to a certain degree, but he'll be the first to tell you that he has culminated his ideas. I've culminated my ideas. I'm not special. No one's special. There's no special. It's a ridiculous idea. And I think the possibilities for people, obviously there's a difference between somebody who has a severe learning disability that's has a problem.
Yes.
There's only so far you can go to help somebody usually, at least at this point in time, based on what we understand. But then most people are fairly cognitively secure, and they can learn fairly easily, and on average, people, I think, can understand basic premises and can think creatively if the environment allows them to do so.
Okay.
So, to answer your question, I think we could have many Da Vincis. Seriously, I think the possibility of each human being is tremendous. It's just been, most people are just so restricted, you know.
Do you feel with the Venus Project and the like, we have the technology already to do that? Could that just be done tomorrow?
Yes.
What you have in mind?
Based on what I understand, based on the resource and analysis and the work Jacques done, many things that he won't even tell people because he's had all of his stuff stolen from him throughout the years. He's had numerous inventions. He doesn't even care about the technology at this point, even though he has tremendously good things. What I mean by that is he's focused on the social aspect. Like I've said to him, why don't you do this and this, and maybe this will help this. He's like, well, that's partially relevant, but it's much more important to focus on the larger order social issue.
Yes.
And I completely agree with him. There's the first very base of our society is energy, and as I think was successfully relayed in Zeitgeist Addendum and is statistically proven, we can power this planet, its current population, many times as the population that exists now with the energy that we have, and we'll always find new energy.
I do believe that, yes, because one thing we do have is solar energy, and it's ample, isn't it?
It's simply a matter of the technology
Exactly,
to figure out how
use.
to maximize the harm. There's new technology-based solar panels that are so small in their operation that they can really encapsulate, and their power is tremendous. So the next level is resources in general, minerals and all of those things. There's so much amazing, there's so many resources. Like here's an example. People say we have food problems, right? 1 billion people starving. Apparently we're running out of food. We don't have food.
I don't believe that
Of course
for a
not.
second, actually.
Think about it this way. In the ocean there is an epiphany of organic matter. If you take that organic matter, high in nutrients, I can't give you the specifics right now, I don't have it in front of me, but you can funnel all of that organic material into skyscrapers that have on every single level acre-size hydroponic rotation plants. And you could build as many as you want on the entire edge of a particular coastline, which could produce probably enough food. I mean, you could have a farm on each floor. It's really just a matter of what we decide to do.
Exactly.
You could make a massive complex the size of nothing like you could ever imagine, which only grows vegetation for the entire North American region.
Exactly.
And then you have automated systems that automatically create it, and it funnels out through transportation systems to each central hub of a community, and everyone gathers their produce.
Yes.
And so, you know,